Hi, hi everyone. I'm Dr. Funke Afolabi Brown. So today we're going to be talking about the top three mistakes that people make when they've had a lousy night of sleep. I'm sure you may have had maybe a couple of those, maybe a series, or you may actually be struggling with insomnia where you have difficulties falling asleep, staying asleep, or you're waking up really, really early. And this has been going on for a long time. And so now you're in this habit loop of constantly trying to make up sleep, try harder, and you're really losing your self-confidence. So just sit tight. I'm going to be going over three common mistakes that people tend to make when they've had lousy nights of sleep and what you could do about it. So regardless of what the cause of the insomnia is, regardless of what the cause of your sleeplessness, for instance, is, you may feel like you went to bed at an appropriate time and you did all the right things, yet you either found yourself tossing and turning, or you woke up at like some ungodly hour and you're just really frustrated, right? The outcome is you wake up in the morning, you feel lousy, right? You don't want to see anybody, you don't want to talk to anybody, you don't want to go to work, right? Or you're just exhausted through the day and you find that you have to push through, right? And so there are few things that you might be doing that may be making these worse. So the first is when we try to catch up or make up for lost sleep. And so the way that looks is either you're going to bed very early because you felt like, listen, I woke up at 4 a.m. I'm going to go to bed at 7 p.m. because I'm exhausted. Or you try to take a nap sometime during the day. Now, when you think about that, of course, if you're exhausted, the main thing you want to do is rest. But what I would caution against is doing that frequently. The reason why that's probably not the best move is that what it does, it causes a shift in your circadian rhythm. And one of the things that really helps our circadian rhythm, that internal clock that regulates our day and night cycle, one of the things that it thrives on is consistency. So if you're going to bed, really based on the fact that you didn't sleep well at night, then what that does is it causes a lot of disruption. And so that then doesn't really help you on the long run to maintain consistent and good sleep. The other thing about it is that when you go to bed either too early, we have two systems that regulate our sleep. We have our sleep drive, right? And then we have that circadian rhythm that really works with regulating your day and night cycle and your sleep-wake rhythm. And so that sleep pressure may be high because you haven't slept well, which is a good thing. You want to capitalize on that. But if you mismatch that high sleep pressure and you're going to bed at a time that's not in alignment with your circadian rhythm, what then may happen is that you may find yourself still waking up really, really early. The best thing to do is try to stay up, not with caffeine, try to find ways to stay up till your regular bedtime as much as possible, which will then align with when your body is used to falling asleep, and then you get the best sleep possible. So that's the first thing. And then the other piece I was going to say around that is also about naps, right? So naps are good, but if the problem is that you're having struggles with falling asleep, you're having struggles with staying asleep, then either you take a nap like really, really early and a very short nap, or you just try to avoid naps altogether, especially if you have insomnia. The second mistake people make is sleeping in on the weekends, right? Again, it makes sense if you've had such a horrible week, you've had a rough night, you want to just catch up and things like that. What that ends up doing again is shifting that circadian rhythm even more, and it causes this phenomenon that we call social jet lag. And that's really when there's a discrepancy between your body clock, your internal clock, and the environmental clock. And so it's like you're traveling across time zones without the luxury of the flight or enjoying the destination, because you're going to come back either on Monday for work and it's just hard for your body to get back into sync. Sometimes I will push to say, like, maybe our teenagers, they probably can do with a little extra sleep on the weekends because they have schedules that are so jam-packed. They have to wake up super early for school. And also they have what we call a slightly delayed sleep phase, which is when their bodies are just not ready to sleep early. And so because of that, they're sort of, short on both ends. So in that situation, I think there's a caveat, but still you want to avoid sleeping in for extended periods of time. So even if your teen is going to be sleeping in on the weekends, you want to keep it to about 1 or 2 hours or so. Then the third mistake that people really make is trying too hard to sleep, where sleep becomes this work-related process where it becomes so arduous. And the harder you try, the harder it seems like sleep is coming. So sleep is just something that will come no matter what. And so when we engage in habits that may in an effort to make sleep come faster, sometimes what that does is create a lot more frustration. And there are different ways by which people try to sort of hurry the process along. One of the very common one, it turns out, is alcohol, because alcohol is sedating. It kind of numbs you, it puts you to sleep right away. The problem with it is, though, it doesn't maintain sleep. And the reason why is because it's metabolized, it's broken down in our system relatively fast. So you might get some sleep at the beginning of the night. And then towards the latter end of the night, you find yourself waking up either to pee, because it does have some diuretic properties, or you're tossing and turning, or you're just really having very vivid dreams. And so what that ends up doing is fragments your sleep and makes you wake up tired. And guess what you do when you wake up tired? You grab coffee because you got to get the day started. And so then you grab coffee to fix that tiredness or sleepiness. And then at nighttime, you have caffeine in your system all day. You can't sleep. Guess what you're grabbing again? You're grabbing the alcohol. And so it becomes this vicious cycle. So I would recommend really not taking alcohol. The other way people try to help themselves is sleep medications, which is sort of similar. And sometimes that may be over-the-counter sleep medication. It could be supplements. It could be prescription medications. And so the healthiest, most natural sleep is better, is more beneficial for us. A lot of the medications tend to have side effects of daytime sleepiness. There's an increased risk of falls. Sometimes, depending on what class of medications you're using, sometimes it might actually put you at other risks for things like sleep apnea, especially if it's really sedating. And then, with the melatonin, I think at the end of the day, melatonin in treatment of insomnia or difficulty sleeping has really not been shown to be that effective. And so that's why the first line treatment for insomnia is cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. And then the third thing people do in terms of trying to get to sleep and trying to work so hard to sleep is worrying and trying to force themselves to sleep. And then again, it becomes extremely stressful. Your mind might be racing. You might start catastrophizing. And really, that's an entity we call psychophysiologic insomnia, where then your head hits the pillow and then you're just, it's just racing and you're just pretty much predicting what a horrible day the next day is going to be. And so if you ever are in that situation when you're in bed and your mind is racing, again, sleep should not be effort related, right? Sleep should just come. That's why you don't know what time you fall asleep most times exactly. You know about the ballpark, but you don't know because it just comes. So if you find that your mind is racing, you find that you're feeling stressed out already or overwhelmed about sleep, just stop. There's no point. Your brain is already like in overdrive. Get out of bed. Especially if you start to feel that stress, get out of bed and just sit somewhere, do something else, distract yourself, write, journal, meditate, read a book, do some, arts and crafts. Try to avoid anything with bright light, try to avoid devices. And then once your sleep starts to return, then get back into bed and go to bed. And then wake up the same time the next morning. I think that is so key because sometimes that explanation I just gave you, that process I just gave you, something we call stimulus control. Sometimes when people engage in that, where they're getting out of bed to do something boring and returning, they then feel like they want to just stay in bed longer. And that's not going to work. That's not going to be helpful. Again, these are very common things that might be contributing to your sleeping difficulties. The more important thing is to then step back, especially if you've been having this for a long time. Like, why? What is going on with my sleep? Why am I having such a hard time sleeping? Are there habits I'm engaging in? Are there thoughts that are sort of intrusive that I need to deal with? Is there a medical issue going on? Is there on the line, anxiety or depression that needs to be addressed? So you can sort of then start to work on those culprits to address the sleep issues, right? And it may end up being a combination of things. So I hope this has been helpful. We've talked about quite a few things that may be contributing to just lousy night, and that may be propagating more lousy nights. So if this has been helpful, I would love it if you like my video, if you subscribe to the channel and you share with someone, and then also comment on it. Let me know how you're feeling about this. Let me know how your sleep is going. And until next time, I hope you rest well.